So with this, I would request Ramanan sir to please deliver his keynote address.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Sudhir, and good afternoon to everybody who has joined on this call. It was indeed very stimulating, engaging, and thought-provoking to hear the previous speakers share their views on what should go into our educational system. And it is indeed a subject of great importance, worthy of deliberation at the highest levels, not only of the education industry, but also from the government and from all the academia and others who are vital stakeholders of this particular system. So after all, we are a country of 1.3 billion people, and we have what they call as the demographic dividend, which is the envy of many a country. All the countries envy us because we have that youthful energy, that youthful workforce that can make an impact, that can create transformations that the world needs, that our country needs, and this planet needs. And therefore, I am very, very happy to be part of this conclave on global education and skill development conclave. This is going to be crucial in the years to come. And first and foremost, I'd like to convey my best wishes that every one of you is hale and hearty under these very difficult COVID-19 circumstances, and that all of you are following the safeguards that have been advocated by your health organizations, by your institution, or by the local government. We are indeed living in unprecedented times. A simple virus has paralyzed countries across the world. It has created grievous loss of lives and livelihoods. It has disrupted supply chains across the world. It has created national lockdowns. And at the same time, it has created a fear of uncertainty, a fear of what is in store for us in the years ahead. And more importantly, what it would be to face other challenges that are lurking in the horizon and which we have not yet experienced: climate change problems, problems of nationalization and patriotic fervors gripping nations and thereby disrupting supply chains even further, problems because of other pandemics that may be in the horizon. So how do we respond to this climate of uncertainty as well as the challenges that it poses? That is only possible if we are able to stimulate in a very, very transformative manner the scope and the capabilities of our young students, the youthful energy that is going to transform nations and that's going to transform the world, and empower them with tools and technologies and knowledge that is going to make them live in a better world than what we are living in. And that means the focus on education, the focus on skill development, the focus on innovation, and the focus on entrepreneurship is extremely important. This is why with the Atal Innovation Mission has been formed at the governmental level, at the highest levels in the NITI Aayog, the National Institution for Transforming India. The purpose of the Atal Innovation Mission has been, how do we create and promote an ecosystem of innovation and entrepreneurship across the length and breadth of our country? That's going to be tremendously useful. How do we ensure that we create a culture of innovation and problem solving in our young minds? As one of the speakers earlier spoke, our educational system has been tremendously focusing on rote learning. Now, I don't find anything wrong with rote learning to the point that we have been able to build a $190 billion ITES industry, which with students who came out of this rote learning system. But what brought us here is not going to take us further. We have to change the way we are looking at what our young students in our schools, in our universities, as well as in the industry are going to be faced with. They have to become problem solvers. They have to become innovators. We are a country of 1.3 billion people. We have 1.4 million schools. We have over 10,500 engineering and related institutions, over 39,000 colleges, and over 150 million young students who are going to be entering into the workplace in the next 5 to 10 years. Now, that's an awesome number of students who are going to be entering into the workplace. How do we transform them from the rote learning mindsets that they have been used to and they have been accustomed to a problem-solving, innovative mindset, so that we create a nation of job creators, not just job seekers? That is the urgent requirement not only in our nation, but across the rest of the world. And how do we ensure that these young students who are becoming problem solvers and innovators get the opportunity and an ecosystem where they are able to further their creative potential and transform their imaginations into innovations that can make national impact? That is the challenge. And that's why the Atal Innovation Mission is setting up thousands of tinkering labs across the country. These tinkering labs are dedicated innovation workspaces in schools between grade 6 to grade 12, so that these young students from the schools are able to tinker with and play with in an atmosphere of fun and an atmosphere of learning without the pressure of getting marks and being judged by their marks. Without that pressure, how do they ensure and how can they get exposure to some of the latest technologies which are shaping the world of tomorrow? After all, technology is indeed changing the way you are experiencing the world and the way the world is experiencing you. It is because of technology that even in this COVID-19 times, all of us here today are gathered and we are deliberating on this subject of national importance and indeed of global importance. We are all able to connect together people from across the globe, all the teachers, all the principals, or the parents, or the students who are logged on to this call, and be able to deliberate on such an important topic. And that is because of technology. Digital technologies have ushered in a new wave of doing things. It is allowing us to reimagine the way the world can operate. It is able to reimagine new solutions for existing problems or for new problems that we will come across. And that is why in these Atal Tinkering Labs, which are now, we have selected 10,000 schools across the country with over 715 districts in which these tinkering labs are established, that the young school students get an opportunity to play with and tinker with 3D printing, robotics, IoT devices, miniaturized electronics, augmented virtual reality through do-it-yourself kits. With these do-it-yourself kits, the young students are able to create solutions to problems they see in and around the community. Now that's very important. The ability to be able to identify problems around the community in which you live in and to be able to solve them yourself. That gives an enormous confidence in the young student's mind that I can do that. I can be an innovator. I can be a potential job creator. I can be the person who can make an impact. As Steve Jobs said, we all need to leave a ding in the universe. If you want to leave a ding in the universe, we need to unleash our creative potential. And mind you, our young students, every student is a born innovator. From my perspective, every one of us have been a born innovator, because when we grew up or when we were born, nobody taught us how to learn to speak. Nobody taught us how to stand. But we stood, fell down, stood again, fell down. Every time we fell down and we stood up, we innovated. Soon we were able to walk. Soon we were able to run. Many of us started participating in races. Some of us won national competitions. Some, like Usain Bolt, have won the Olympics. That's the power of innovation. And that's the power of self-learning. So we have to be able to allow our students to learn. And also at the same time, it is very important that our teachers learn to unlearn. The traditional ways of way we are being disseminating education and adopt new ways which are much more effective leveraging technology. And therefore these Atal Tinkering Labs are built not just from the point of view of acquiring technology knowledge, which is very important because they are shaping the future, but also the 21st century skills that are so very important if you want to survive and thrive in the next century. Skills like design thinking, communication skills, leadership skills, integrity, ethics, and value skills, the importance of arts, not just in technology and science, but how you can leverage aesthetic thinking and blend science and art together to create great innovations. If you look at any innovation out around there, it is a combination of people who specialize in technology, science, arts, commerce, and other disciplines, including geography or history or biology or chemistry or physics or maths. So that is what innovation is all about. And through these Atal Tinkering Labs, we are adopting and being sort of a forerunner for what the new education policy of India has now advocated. Create problem solvers who can define the future of our country and realize the dreams that they want to live in. Now, when we approach this subject, there are 5 E's that I would like to talk about. The first is that of empathy. How do we empathize with the students? We are a country with, like I said, 1.4 billion people and 1.4 million schools. But not all the schools are in tier 1 cities. There are schools in tier 2 cities, tier 3 cities, rural India, in the hilly coastal districts of our country. How do we ensure that every student in any part of the country gets the benefit of high quality education? That means creating the necessary infrastructure and ecosystem that enables them to have access to that high quality education. That also means addressing the pillar that the Honorable Prime Minister mentioned in his Atmanirbhar Bharat clarion call, the pillar of infrastructure. We need to be able to set up world-class infrastructure so that this world-class infrastructure is enabling our young students to have access to the finest levels of knowledge from anywhere across the globe. And that infrastructure implies leveraging digital infrastructure. Digital infrastructure and the online universities that we are talking about is a requirement, a mandatory requirement of the future. It enables us to bridge that elusive last mile where we are still not able to reach across to the villages. We have 600,000 villages in our country. We have 715 districts, out of which 115 are aspirational districts. These aspirational districts are among the bottom of the pyramid in terms of access to basic healthcare, basic education, basic affordable housing, clean drinking water, sanitation, and waste management. So we need to be able to address this infrastructural problem so that our education is able to be inclusive. It also needs to take care of the Divyangjan or the differently abled. Many of our schools are not equipped to address the differently able. So we need to ensure that universities and the industry is leveraging technology and creating the necessary infrastructure to be able to address these gaps. The second is, so this is where the empathy part comes in. Empathizing with the needs of the schools and the students in different parts of our country, and also empathizing with the need for the teachers to be educated. Teacher training is extremely important. How do you raise the quality of education in our training of our teachers? Now, in the Atal Tinkering Labs that we have launched, where more than 10,500 tinkering labs have been set up and now 5 million students are experiencing the joys of innovation through these do-it-yourself kits, we had taken a very important step of training the teachers. Now, training the teachers means leveraging partnerships in order to make it happen. There is a big gap in the educational system. You don't have enough people with knowledge of emerging technologies and emerging methodologies and emerging pedagogies to be able to teach the teachers. So we have enlisted partnerships and mentors across the country. One of the largest mentors of change, Mentor India network, has been set up by the Atal Innovation Mission in order to facilitate this and make this happen. We have more than 10,000 mentoring mentors, or called mentors of change, who have volunteered from the industry, from the academia. They are all masters, BTechs, BEs, or engineers, doctors, scientists, artists, you name it, but professionals who have been there, done that, gained tremendous experience and domain knowledge. And today they are able to impart and benefit our young students. Now that needs to scale up in a very big manner. And all of us in every school and associated with the education industry have to see how we can enlist mentors to be able to fill that gap between what the education industry, education in schools and universities provide and what the industry and the world needs. The third part is the second part is the enablement of the ecosystem. The enablement happens through all the infrastructure that I talked about. But the third part is empowering the young students with tools, technologies, and knowledge that is vital for them to be able to become innovators and entrepreneurs of the future. And that is why technologies like artificial intelligence, blockchain, IoT, or augmented virtual reality are making a lot of sense today, to be able to use that to ensure that we are able to empower our young students, and through the online modules including modules on app development, game development that we have launched in Atal Innovation Mission. And these are helping not only the young students, but also the teachers and the trainers to learn and self-learn from the online sources that are being made available. The fourth part is energize the spirit of innovation and entrepreneurship. Now, this means we have to make our young students sensitive and capable of understanding that not only that they can solve the problems that they see in and around the community, but they can solve problems that the world has yet to see. Every student, for example, in our school should be trained on or should have education on sustainable development goals. Because without that knowledge, all of us tend to acquire knowledge in order to become an engineer, a doctor, to be able to earn a lot of money. And that has been the general trend. But how do we ensure that our young students of the future understand that social good is as important as economic good? Societal divides, economic divides, digital divides need to be bridged. And the education on sustainable development goals will go a long way in addressing this. I'm tremendously happy to share with you that the Atal Tinkering Marathons that we run every year, the innovations, all of them submitted by the young students. And in the last Tinkering Marathon, we had more than 50,000 innovations submitted by the young students. These innovations were all aligned with sustainable development goals. Now that means the awareness of sustainable development goals has increased tremendously in our young students, and we need to do that. And finally, we also need to ensure that we evolve them into innovators in our university ecosystem. And that is why we are setting up hundreds of incubators which can foster thousands of startups. You see, India has never lacked for great innovators, thinkers, engineers, scientists. All of us agree to that. You have a Satya Nadella heading Microsoft, a Sundar Pichai heading Google, a Shantanu Narayan heading Adobe, and Arvind Krishna heading IBM. There are several Indians leading major universities, whether it is Harvard or it is Stanford or Carnegie Mellon and so on. Now, the difference is that for them, they have all been availed. They have availed of an ecosystem which has allowed them to unleash their creative potential and rise to the highest levels of eminence. If we can create the same ecosystem here, which is what the new education policy is designed to do, we'll create 1,000 Satya Nadellas, 1,000 Abdul Kalams, 1,000 Sundar Pichais in our own country. After all, the great Abdul Kalam came from a small, humble town of Rameshwaram, a town in the districts, coastal districts of Tamil Nadu, which not many people know where exactly it is. A small town which has probably a few schools, a church, a mosque, and several temples. That's what Rameshwaram is famous for. But from such a humble town, you have thousands of fishing boats there. And from such a town came the great Abdul Kalam, who became one of the finest scientists India has ever seen, and one of the finest human beings who rose on to become the president of the country. That's the dream that every young student can have and should have, no matter where he or she is located in India. That's the dream that they can realize if they are able to dream big and we are able to empower them with tools, technology, and an infrastructure that brings them to realize their creative potential. Dream big, said Abdul Kalam, and you'll achieve great things. Dream small, and you'll be limited by your own dreams. So I would advocate to this group, illustrious group of people who have collected today, and to all of you who are listening, dream big, and we will achieve great things. And India has much to look forward to in the century that is to come. Thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to share a few thoughts on this particular occasion.
Thank you very much, sir. It's been great, and we are glad to know once again to hear from you how the entrepreneurship and the innovation is being promoted. We are glad to hear, and thanks for taking out time and joining us, delivering the keynote address. Thank you so much.